Ba-da-da-da-da.
Hi, welcome to the Thunder Nerds. I'm Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology
That love what they do and do tech good.
Doing tech. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And just so you know, we've been doing tech now for about 3 years. It's our 3-year anniversary. We've been doing this since 2015, and if my math's correct, that's 3. So thank you so much for joining us and participating and watching the show. Super appreciate it. And if you can,
I am math.floored.
You're what?
I said I am math.floored.
If you can, please. No, I get it. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the show. Go to iTunes, subscribe there. If you can, click the little notification buttons to get those notifications on the YouTubes, and go to thundernerds.io. Or excuse me, go to thundernerds.io/review and provide us a review. We'd really love to read your review. And Janelle, do you want to read our review today?
I cannot currently because I am having wonderful internet problems. So I'm going to defer to you, Frederick.
Oh, tell us about your internet. Let's talk about that for a second. Where are you at? What are you doing?
Currently, I'm at Kroomtep. I'm not entirely sure how to say it, but it is a tea shop. And the internet is fantastic here. But yeah, I'm about to, in an hour, host a Girl Develop It Coffee and Code. So, yay!
That's awesome. Cool. Well, that's a great reason to be on location. Excited. Well, we'll hear more about that. So, and if you can also, please go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/thundernerds. Support us. And, if you can tweet during the show, live chat during the show, we'd love to answer your questions. So let's go ahead and get to our guest. We have an amazing guest all the way across the world. We have strategist, speaker, mentor, senior UX product designer, Jenny Shen. Welcome to the show, Jenny.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being with us. Super appreciate you being with us all the way over there in the Amsterdams.
Of course, this is my pleasure.
Janelle, you still there? I think we lost Janelle. So yeah. Hey, let's talk a little bit about your journey to Amsterdam, because where were you born? You were born in
Taipei, Taiwan.
Exactly. And then somehow you went into Vancouver, and then you ended up in Amsterdam. Do you mind if we talk about that journey?
No. So actually between Vancouver and Amsterdam, there's another stop in between, and that's Singapore. And so I was born in Taiwan, and then when I was 12, my family immigrated to Canada. So I grew up in Vancouver. I studied in Vancouver as well. And in 2013, I moved to Singapore, and I worked there for a year and a half-ish. And afterwards, I wanted a new adventure. I kind of just like moving abroad, experiencing new things, experiencing new cultures. So I decided that I want to move to Europe and maybe work with European companies, European clients. So in 2015, I chose Amsterdam, and I moved to Amsterdam. I worked for a company called Travelbird, and I've been in Amsterdam since then.
Oh, okay, that's cool. So what did you do? Are you currently working with Travelbird?
No, so I worked with Travelbird only in 2015, and then now I'm a full-time independent designer and strategist.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So what is your kind of day-to-day like then, doing just being an independent strategist?
Yeah, so right now I'm working with some startups. Actually, I work with some startups and to help them define more high-level product strategy and their roadmap, and also help solve some more kind of high-level design issues like their positioning or maybe their business model. And at the moment, I am really doing a lot of different things. And right now, at the moment, I'm more focused on the design education, like coaching, consulting with a client, and like bringing in design into the company or into the team. And so my day-to-day would be sometimes consulting with a company, sometimes mentoring, sometimes working on talks or working on workshops, giving a remote workshop, doing all sort of different things.
Oh, that's awesome. So what kind of challenges do you find that you come across where working for yourself could be difficult to find clients or work in this nature?
Yeah, I think it's just, well, I work remotely. So right now I work full-time remotely. So, and there are not as many, like, it's not like, the typical job where it's like, hey, you want to work for us and like come to our office, work full-time on site. And it's like the kind of the opposite of that. So the challenge would be I feel there are less opportunities to begin with. And um, also as a freelancer, freelancers do have to be comfortable with some, like without stability, and also um, be working out their own brand, their own branding, so that people will remember who they are. So then, like, when they have a project, they can just reach out to Jenny or reach out to Frederick, reach out to Janelle. If they, like for freelancers, you need to build your own brand for people to remember you.
How are some of the big ways that you address that to have people remember you?
Yeah, I think for the moment, I built that by running community, so people kind of remember me as Jenny, who organizes a lot of events in Amsterdam. I go to a lot of networking events in Amsterdam as well, and since last year, I've been really involved in conferences as a speaker. So I'm networking a lot as a speaker, and also, of course, participating and attending the conference sessions. So then just by being active in the industry and also as a speaker, I think it does help. And also with help of podcasts and also live streams like this one, and more people can hear my story, can understand my experiences, and know what I have to offer and how I can help them.
That's awesome. What is your current kind of like your conference strategy, if that makes sense? A lot of, I feel, speakers kind of go for like a 6 month to a year focus when they speak. Has been your focus in the past year? You're trying to evangelize for minors.
I didn't quite understand the whole sentence because the internet was not very good. But then if I understand that the first part was just my conference strategies and like what I do when approaching conference speaking.
Yeah, kind of like what you. I'm probably delayed. And yeah, what your has your.
Jenny, can you make out Janelle? I can't.
Well, I can just talk about my speaking experiences and also like how because I think you also asked this question to Pedro in his live stream. Yeah, you were asked, so people who didn't listen to that episode, it was like, question is more about do you apply to conferences, do they approach you? So yeah, the journey with conference speaking is that I started just like last year, October, so almost like a year ago. And my first conference speaking was via a recommendation from someone at TapTal, which is a community I'm a part of. So she introduced me to speak in Bulgaria to a crowd of like 1,000 people. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it, and I'll craft a talk and I give it there, and I think I got some good feedback. And in the same month, I gave talk in 3 other conferences. So it's like the first time I did conference speaking, I gave 4 talks in 1 month.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. And the 4 talk, so one was via recommendation. The other one, it was like a combination of knowing the conference organizer and applying. The third one was that I applied, and the last one I forgot, but it's like a mix of everything. And this year, early this year, I applied to some conferences, and they got accepted. But aside from like those three, the other 18 or so conferences and events, they reach out to me because they had seen the videos and also the buzz from the initial conference speaking I did.
Sure. You still there, Jenna?
So cool.
That's amazing that you just started off that recently. Did you find yourself having any kind of a phobia speaking in front of people, or was it natural for you?
I wouldn't say I have a phobia or it was natural. I mean, the first time I gave a talk in a meetup on this like most popular topic that I have, I was pretty nervous. And then I also some of my friends were in the audience and I asked them for feedback, and then they telling me how like I could be more open and more confident in my body language. So I kind of learned from those experience. But before I started giving talks at meetups, got trained by Toastmasters, and I also did some public speaking workshop.
Oh,
So
that's a good idea.
yeah, so it's something that I want to get better at. It's something that I like doing, and I want to do more. So right now, I think I am, I would say, comfortable with speaking, but I still get nervous before I go on the stage. Yeah.
Do you do anything to like make yourself feel better or psych yourself up? You know, do you have one of those kind of things where you say a little mantra before you go out? I'm good enough. I'm smart enough.
I think I did something like that, maybe like a few times, but mostly for me, what calms me down is that when I remind myself, you know your stuff, and I look through the slides and make sure, and I do the tech check, and I make sure like my slides are going okay, and then the audio thing is plugged in, and then I need to have that sort of assurance that everything is fine, and then I will just feel calm. And I also just take a deep breath. It's really simple, but it works. I take deep breaths. I also hold my breath because apparently it's like allowing your brain to take in more oxygen when you hold your breath, like for a few
Really?
seconds. Yeah, I learned that trick recently. I think it does work. It's like very calming. When you take a deep breath, you hold it for a few seconds, and you let it out.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it's quite calming. So I do that before I go on a stage. And I also try not to like look at my slides or anything just before I go on the stage, because sometimes I get like more nervous if I do that. I'm like, oh no, I want to add this. Oh no, I want to say something different, and I start panicking. So I try not to look at my slide just before I go on a stage.
Yeah, it's nice to just kind of go out and feel relaxed and organic and not over prepare. I think sometimes we could do that in a lot of different situations, whether that's an interview or going up on stage or something where you have some kind of business interaction. Yeah, totally. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you say is some good advice for people that want to get into public speaking? You know, obviously now you have a little bit more experience, and you might have some additional tips and tricks besides holding your breath. Like,
Yeah.
what kind of things do you recommend? Maybe people talk about, or tips for them to think about what they're passionate about and how to apply that when they speak in public.
I actually written a Medium post on my story from zero conference speaking experience to speaking 4 times in 1 year. So I wrote about my experience. We can link it in a show notes.
Yeah.
And so essentially it is like how to find a talk topic. Is that I reflected back on the recent 1 to 2 years of my design experience, work experience, and think if there's anything or any important, interesting things that I learned. So I was like reflecting back on the time at Travelbird and also my other freelance project, and also when I worked in Singapore. We were making a SaaS product, but then we had clients like across Southeast Asia. So I had this like interesting experience working with different cultures, within a region. Like at Travelbird, it was with cultures in Europe and also, near Europe. So I thought, okay, maybe that's an interesting topic, and it's also kind of different from what other people were speaking. So I talked to a meetup organizer in Amsterdam, and they were happy to let me prepare and give that talk. the feedback was very good, and so I just decided to pitch it to other conferences. So that's how I found my first talk topic. I also are quite involved in the community, and I talk to people. And sometimes when questions come up, people will ask like, how do you organize your researching sites? How do you convince stakeholders? And how do you like do handoff? And I just sort of keep those questions in mind. Like, hey, this is people, like this is what people want to know. This is what people want to learn. And when I have enough experiences, and also if I'm interested in the topic, I will just kind of incorporate those kind of users' needs into my talk.
That makes sense. I was just giving Janelle some room. Janelle, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I did. I actually wanted to know about, I mean, it looks like you're getting a lot of like speaking engagements and things of that nature and helping other people out through Meetup, which is, but thinking as the host of your own thing, Ladies Who UX. Can you a little more about what that is?
Yeah. So the community I'm a part of is called Ladies at UX, where I founded the Amsterdam chapter in 2015. So just almost after I moved to Amsterdam. Ladies at UX is a global community and nonprofit organization where our mission is to kind of grow more female role models, more female leaders, more female speakers. We want to help women in UX to teach each other, promote each other, and support each other. And we have this like signature, warm, supportive, inclusive vibe in a community. So yeah, I founded the Amsterdam chapter, and now I've moved on to join the global leadership team as the regional director of EMEA.
That's awesome. So
that is really, really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, how is the community, specifically Ladies.UX, how is the community helping women in UX, and where? Is it just within Europe? Is it in the United States?
It's actually, we're active in over 50 cities around the world. So we have presence, we have chapters in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, in the US, in Canada. I think there's one chapter in New York. There's one chapter in Boston. So yeah, we're over the world. And how we are helping women in UX is that we have there's different types of events, of course. We try to help each other by sharing knowledge, and that can be done through like workshops and panels and talks. And we also are very keen to have more female speakers. So we work with sometimes external partners to organize like a workshop on public speaking, crafting a talk, and also giving each other, like giving women the platform to speak. Because in my experience, at least like why I founded the Amsterdam chapter is when I go to other meetups, tech meetups or UX design meetups, I'm usually just one of the handful of women in the room, like count a number with my hands. And most of the time, like I see the speakers being men, because like there's a lot of men in the tech industry. And I was just thinking like, well, why is there like almost no women in a meetup? Why are there no female speakers? So at Ladies UX, we try to give the platform for women, because if nobody know that they can speak, then like they don't get recommendations, they don't reach out, and it's just like a chicken and egg problem. So we actively invite women to speak, give a workshop, share their knowledge with each other.
Oh, I love that. What kind of success stories are you getting out of that? Do you have any one or any kind of thing that you could cite?
Sure. So at least like when I talk to people who are involved in a community, so my experience is mostly with Amsterdam, so I can quote like some members. They really like a community where they can connect with other women, because most of us we work with male colleagues, and sometimes it's just nice to like have chat with different, like chat with women, and then have a different topic to talk about. Some people found their UX job because we do have a lot of community to connect with one another. So they actually got their UX job in a community, and some people from friends. Some people started giving. Some people gave their first talk in a meetup, and then they were going to other conferences to speak about it. And yeah, like many people really like having a warm, inclusive community, and really help out each other. Like people say really positive reviews on our meetup group, which I feel really, really good that people are finding value in it.
I love that.
That's really incredible. I mean, as a woman, I think that having those environments when you code or design, kind of with people that are like you know, and you're kind of like the underdog. It's nice to have that kind of community. I know from experience too, when I ever went to, or my first meetup was a lady developers meetup in Orlando, Florida, and I felt so nurtured and loved and empowered, and it was really, really great. And I think you know, when we feel like, hey, we have a voice, we have, you know, we matter, our opinions, you know, matter, that we feel also empowered to give other women that kind of, you know, feeling too, right? We want to tell them, hey, you matter, your voice matters, you know, your thoughts, your designs, your code matters. And I really think that, I mean, that's awesome that you do that base for that, because there's not a lot of places that do that. So thank you so much for that, Jenny.
Oh, thank you. It was also really nice to hear, and I absolutely agree with you. It's just feels really like empowering and like encouraging to know that many of the people in their community, they don't have speaking experiences. Some people are terrified. Some people don't know how to formulate a talk. But by giving them the platform, maybe like a lightning talk slot, they're like, okay, I can speak for 5 minutes. I can speak for 10 minutes, and they start to learn that, hey, this is not so bad after all. This is not so difficult after all, and they kind of help them gain the confidence. But then like outside of a community, there's often another opportunity where they feel like, oh, I'm definitely gonna like pitch a 1 hour talk. It's so we're really happy to see that people are feeling more comfortable and even like inspired by each other to share their knowledge.
Love that. What do you mind if I ask you a question? Like, what are some of the challenges that you came across in your own professional career that might have led you to form this community, or not this community, but the community within Amsterdam? Like, what are some of the challenges that you had early on in your career?
Mm-hmm. I would say that I mean, they're not like big challenges like I was denied of jobs or anything like that. It was more like something that I want to do. It was more like I want to build a community that I would love to be a part of. I mean, I do go to a lot of networking events and meetup. It was just that it's a little bit odd to always be, well, almost always be the only woman in the room, and then feeling like people don't really want to listen to me or listen to what I have to say. And then I wasn't sure if I was the only one having this kind of experiences. So it was, maybe I was thinking maybe it's worthwhile to connect to other people and see if this is like something that like only I experience. And it's also more like a feeling where if I look around the room, I see like 100 people, and I am like one of the only women, and I feel like like, am I supposed to like dress differently? Would I be mistaken, as somebody's assistant or girlfriend? Like, would people question me? Like, why am I there? It just all those like thoughts that make me kind of feel like, do I belong here? Should I be going there? It's just also a feeling of like a difference between feeling like I belong there or I'm welcome there, and versus the opposite. So it's those kinds of like feelings that kind of inspired me to do this. And actually, even after I started a community, we also start sometimes we get like questions like, why are you separating women? And that's like not fair. So we get a lot of those challenges, challenging questions as well. And then I still sometimes for me, I think encountered sort of microaggressions. I don't know how to put it. Like after even 20 conference speaking experiences, some people, when I meet other speakers, they are even asking me, "Is it your first time speaking?" But I'm like, "Would you ask someone else that question?" I'm like, "Well, like, why would you ask me that question?" Yeah, but anyways, so those are like little challenges, at least I personally experienced.
Wow. Did you find? I know you said you did a lot of testing within Europe on your last position where you traveled around and you talked to a lot of people. Did you find that within different cultures in Europe, you would have different kind of perspectives of women in tech and how they would appreciate, and maybe some areas, locations not?
Hmm. I I don't really have an answer for that, to be honest, because I've been like speaking in Asia as well, and I sometimes I also hear that that they're in the country, they're more like also advocating for gender equality. Um, so I cannot really like, I'm afraid to give like a generalizing answer, like this country is not and this country is. So
Germany, blah blah blah. Yeah,
yeah.
I just mean in general. Like in general, do you find like certain countries have more of a different respect for women than others when you travel, or is it just kind of a little bit here and there in different countries?
I think overall, in general, there's still room for improvement for gender equality, especially the gender wage gap in any country. I mean, even like Iceland, there are some stats where there are some like ranking for like progressive countries or whatever, like countries with like a least pay gap. But even in Iceland, there's still like a quarter. Women earn like a quarter less than men in the same job, same rank, same experience. So I think there is just room for improvement. So I don't think we've reached there yet. And even in Europe, I talk with a lot of people, and sometimes I hear experiences where it's just like showing that we still have a long way to go.
Is there like a way that do you think that women can, voice their concern about their wages, for example? Like, how do you think we can ask questions like, "Hey, how much do you make?" to our peers without feeling like, you know, we're a terrible person or not a team player? How do you, how would you go about doing about that?
I think it's a really tough question, and I think I also don't know if there's a right way or if there's a way to approach it, because I think in most countries, like salary is a really personal, is a really private thing, and people don't really tend to share that. So I would say, instead of asking colleagues, perhaps I would ask the company something about if they are paying both genders like equally, and if maybe the country has like a law. I think it was like Iceland, or maybe it was like another country that make illegal to pay women and men differently. So perhaps I'll ask measures like that if there's like an equal similar measure in the company. And also, I really look up to companies like Buffer. They make their salaries like completely transparent. Like people can know, what year, like how many years of experiences and what they're earning, what's their position. So I think like maybe that other companies can. I think it's hard, but maybe some other companies can adapt, some like that kind of mindset to be transparent.
Yeah, why have that a secret or something that's, weirdly kept private? Share it out.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Being able to talk to your, the people that you work with should, I mean, a lot of the times end up being your friends. So, I
Mhm.
mean, it'd be a really great way to kind of bring up that in conversation. Maybe you're walking to your, uh, your lunch spot that you go to on Wednesdays, and you say, "Hey, how much do you make? I see, like I make, X amount of money." Especially like providing that information first could be that catalyst, right? And really, what's the end the end of it is, you both end up making the same amount of money, or like that's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah. I also
So
think like, sorry. I also think like HR or agencies or the people who hire like have a responsibility, because they know, if they know like the women are, I don't know, undercharging, or if the company is like offering like unfair amount to different genders, I think they could also have the responsibility to speak up about it. That's what I think.
Are there any tools or websites that people could go to see that information? Like obviously like you could go to Glassdoor and you could see about a company, but is there any kind of tools or websites that you could see this is what men make, what women make, anything like that?
There are some industry reports. So there's Glassdoor, and I think Glassdoor does not reveal like the gender of whoever like report a salary. So there are industry reports, and from what I read is that there is still a gender wage gap. So I don't know, that does that mean like they're already working on it, or are they like measured to make sure that does not happen? But what I do see from those reports is that there is a wage gap, and there's some reports, like for example for the UX industry, it does like survey, I think like thousands of UX practitioners, and ask them how much they make and how many years of experiences, what the industry, what's the gender, and then they do like compare. And yeah, long story short, there's a gender wage gap.
I have a question that might be a little touchy. I'm kind of excited to ask. I'm wondering what you would say. What do you think it's like to be like a woman of color in the tech industry? How do you think that differs than just being, maybe a Caucasian woman?
Yeah. So I can speak from my own experiences of someone of Asian ethnicity. At least like in my culture, in a Taiwanese culture, we're taught, especially Asian, especially Taiwanese, and especially as a woman, we are taught to be like humble. We shouldn't like brag. We shouldn't steal the spotlight from someone else. We should like listen and like don't try to like act as if you know everything. So I feel like for myself, I have what people call like the bamboo ceiling. I didn't start that term, but I heard it from somewhere. So basically, it's where, how the people say there's like a glass ceiling for women, and for Asian we have another ceiling where like our Asian culture sometimes could like prohibit us from like doing stuff that we want to do or should do, but we just kind of have like this culture that kind of hold us back. And how I see that affect me is that like on the side, I'm also like running some several experiments. I'm starting like some side businesses, like side projects, clients, experimenting, like having a collective of designers where if I get a big project, and I would like work with other designers to, we all together like make this thing to clients. So because I am like basically recruiting other designers, I asked them how much, what is their hourly rate or their day rate. And so when I saw the answers, I actually realized that for people who have the same or even sometimes less years of experience than me, they are charging more than I am. So I'm like, is this the industry way? Like how long have I been undercharging? I just did not know that. I just don't basically talk about it with other people. So of course, I adjust my ways after realizing that. I'm just like, why is it that
Sure.
this confidence to charge that much? And why do I not have the confidence, or why am I not charging as much as they are? So I'm like, okay, is this because I have this mental feeling? It's really hard to attribute my behavior to something. So I can only guess this is just what I think. And also recently I saw I think it's linked to a report. I can find it later, and maybe we can include it in the show notes, where it says several studies and asked people of different ethnicity and gender. They like divided by like white male, white female, you know, Asian female, Asian male. It's like, how often do you have people like question your expertise, or how often do you have like, you know, like put negative experience here? And then they calculate the response of people who said yes, yeah, like 36% people question me with my expertise, and they compare that across several different profiles. And from that research, we find that people of color usually have higher percentage of people questioning their expertise, or have to work harder, prove more, or that they are knowledgeable, compared to not people not of color. Yeah. So I find that like kind of I'm like surprised and not surprised, and it's just kind of sad to like look at the report and feel like, oh, like, you know, many of us, like many people do have that sort of negative experiences, and some profiles seems to have that happen less.
Do you find that just you know, with time, we're slowly making progression with the age of everybody being able to have the accessibility, if you do have the privilege of having access to the internet, you know, getting information out there, educating people, and our, you know, culture globally is getting better?
I think so. I think so. I think that it's going slower than what I hoped for, but I think that with people talking about, you know, ethics, people talking about inclusion, and for example, like Thunder Nerds inviting people of different profile to talk about their stories, their challenges, and I think we're getting somewhere, and definitely like sharing this, having this like you know, content like where everybody can learn of like stories of someone with a different profile. I think it's a good start. It's yeah.
You know, I'm really interested in what you were just saying, and it made me think about. I wanted to know what your family thinks of your success. What do they think of your career, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know actually. I when I tell them like, hey, I am keynoting at this conference, and I send in like a like a picture of me standing like in front of a super huge stage, and they're like, oh, good job. So I think they are proud of me at least, and then they are probably um, um, like behind my back, they're bragging to all of their neighbors, all their friends, like, oh, like my daughter is successful in Amsterdam, she's traveling around the world. They're probably like bragging to their neighbors, but I don't know for sure. Like, I don't really ask them, but like one time I did ask them like you know, what do you think about my career? Like, is it okay that I live abroad? I do all the stuff that you don't seem to understand. I don't go with a, you know, traditional path of being a full-time employee for like 10 years. And they're like, yeah, just do whatever you like to do. So I'm like super grateful that my parents are supporting me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think anybody within our industry has a difficult time explaining to their family exactly what they do. I think, like, you know, they probably just go, "Oh, they do web stuff."
Yeah.
You know, do you ever see what's that movie by Envision, Design Disruptors?
I actually did not, but I know of a movie. I just didn't make it to any of the screening.
Oh, you go to Envision and look it up. It's a great film, but it's a good way for and they even cite this in the movie where people would take the movie and they were like, yeah, I showed my family this movie, I watched it with them, and now they understand what I do.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good way to say, oh, okay, I get what a UX strategist is. Okay, understood, got it. They appreciate it a little bit more. You know, I love there's this episode of Greater Than Code that I was listening to that you were on. I think kind of recently, right? When was that?
Yeah, I think that was about like a month ago.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And they asked you right off the bat, what was your design superpower? And you said, not giving a fuck what other people think. And I really like that because, and you also followed that up with standing up for people and just trying to help out, and like you do with the community, and, you know, the community you started. in Amsterdam. Where does that come from? Where is that like, I don't give a fuck and I'm gonna do what's right?
So I think like the superpower of not giving a fuck is maybe like I learned from my parents. Until they like moved from Taiwan to Canada and away from all their relatives, and like they were doing their own thing, and they were also entrepreneurs. They had their own business, and they are actually retired now, living in Canada. So I kind of just like I that kind of just like the attitude I learned from them, and just they were also very supportive, like do what you want. So I just kind of started doing things and not really like care about what other people think. Like some people think it might be embarrassing. Some people might think like, well, you're gonna go up the stage. What if you fall? What if you forget what you're gonna say? What if you, I don't know, like think about like terrible situation, and just like, yeah, but I'm just gonna do it, and if I fall, I fall. I make a fool out of myself, but like, so what? So maybe I am more optimistic towards that, and the standing up for others is also maybe just a personality. I don't know where it came from, but I would say in general, I would say it's like part of the Taiwanese culture to stand up for others, or at least like have this like um, you know I wanna do it justice, and like it shouldn't be unfair, and it should be like make sure that people are all happy, are treated equally. Um, I would say that's perhaps a a Taiwanese trait, but I am not like super sure. There's like no evidence, but at least that's just how like my Taiwanese friends also like that. Yeah, it's like if your friend has a bad experiences with someone else, and then they're like, no, I'll go, I'll say something about it to make sure that they don't like bully you or whatever. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that. To go back to the first part about not caring what people think, we were talking to Pedro Marquez on Thursday, and we were talking about, and he kind of brought up the same thing where he said, I had so many people telling me to not do this, to not do that, and I just didn't give a fuck, and I went ahead and I owned my own. And I'm paraphrasing loosely, that he owned his own destiny, and he made his own life and his own path. Like that's not something everybody has within them. But it also makes me think of this episode that I listened to a while ago on User Defenders with Jason and Femke, where they were talking about kind of the same thing, where you don't want to wait for someone to give you the go, like, oh yeah, the permission to make your own career. If you want to do something, now is the time, because your interests always change, your passions will change. If you want to do something, just go ahead, don't wait for permission, just be you and be the best you could be.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I also agree that we don't really need permission, because some people, perhaps, for example, like in terms of conference speaking, they only speak if a conference invite them, or like they only speak on a podcast if somebody invite them. But I've also like reached out to people, reach out to conferences, reach out to like those publications, like, hey, can I like write for your blog? I don't think that one has always have to be like invited, or like only if a recruiter contact you about a job, then you will work for the company. I don't think that really makes sense. If you want to do something, just go for it.
Yeah, I don't know why so many of us have that feeling sometimes, where we feel like we need that permission, and it's interesting. We all get that kind of self-doubt, or that what is it called, the syndrome, the
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where we kind of feel like, oh, am I actually good enough? But yeah, it's hard sometimes to overcome that. But at least we all push to try to get better. But yeah, sometimes some of us can't make that connection to take ownership of our own destiny.
Yeah, and I actually, that reminds me, when I talk to other designers, talk to other UX practitioners, and especially my mentees, many people, just like you said, they feel like they need to have permission to do UX, to advocate for UX, to do research. They're always like waiting to have permission, like they're waiting for somebody to say, "Hey, we need to do user research. Can you do user research?" And they think that they need this permission, whatever that form is, it should be, to do the things that they are hired to do, or like establish better processes, advocate for a design system. So I think it's very normal, and perhaps it's just easier to be passive than active. After all, like not everyone is super driven, and not everyone is like, proactive. And maybe people are proactive in different things that I've never thought the part about this part where, oh, I don't need permission to do user research. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about it that way, that where maybe people are more proactive in other ventures or other parts of their lives where they might not, their professional career really isn't the thing that they're passionate about.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Speaking of mentorship, I think I really want to talk about how that's a big part of your website, and you have a big section about that, and you've been mentoring people now for how long?
Well, I think it's for a year and a half. Now, but that is like part-time mentoring, like consistently. But before, I also had mentoring experiences with different organizations, different involvement. But then running my own mentorship program has been going on for a year and a half.
Oh, that's awesome. So what got you into doing that? I mean, is it the same kind of um, inspiration for how you created the chapter in Amsterdam? Is that where that comes from? Like, why take that on? I'm sure you're busy enough as it is.
Yeah. So actually, like, that came after I started the Amsterdam chapter of Ladies UX. And the sort of the idea, or like what pushed me to start it, is because I was talking. Well, I'm always like very involved in a community, and I have like tons of like Facebook groups, Slack channels, and I'm like involved online. And when I talk to people, or at least I see people saying like, "Hey, I'm looking for a mentor. Like, do you know anyone?" And I just keep on seeing this like pop up everywhere. Like, people are looking for mentors, and the people seem to have trouble finding a mentor. So I'm like, yeah, okay, I had a mentor before, and how did I get one? I asked for one. I actually had to ask for a mentor at the time when I was interning at IBM. And I just also like really like that experience, and also I did some volunteering mentorship with other officers, and also like that. So I thought, okay, so I have mentorship experiences, and I actually like doing it. I like to help people grow their careers, and people are looking for mentors. And I was also just thinking that we never, most of the schools never teach us how to write a proper resume, how to sell yourself, how to market yourself, how to like put together a nice portfolio, like what to personal branding. Like, schools don't really teach that. I have to figure it out myself, because I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be independent designer strategist. So I thought, since I have to like already work out all of the stuff myself, I might as well just be a mentor and teach people how to get there. So it was just started as an experiment. I was like, okay, let me put up a landing page. I'm gonna like code it really quickly and see if people are interested to sign up. So I did, and I included like my mentorship experiences, and I also talk about like I want to be the mentor that I wish I had, because aside from that mentor at IBM, I didn't really have a mentor, and I also find it difficult to have role models in tech, especially female and people of color role models. So I'm like, okay, I want to be someone else's role model, even though I'm not like, with a decade of experience. But I think I have something I can at least teach and mentor people who are junior than I am. So I put together a landing page. I just tweeted, I shared it in several social network, and I wouldn't say it got viral, but it got a lot of retweets, and people were like, "Oh, Jenny is doing mentorship," and I got like some props. People are like, "Hey, it's so good for you to do this, because we do need more mentors." And I got a lot of signups, and I had more like possible mentees than I could take. So I actually have to do some application forms, some process to make sure that people will sign up. They know what they're getting themselves into. Like, they do have the time to work on their career goals, portfolio, side projects, whatever. And that they choose me because of my unique experiences, and they are not just choosing anyone to be their mentor. So yeah, I'm lucky that people are considering me to be their mentor, and um, still I am mentoring people until today.
I love that. You help out so many people just in so many ways. That's amazing. How many people are you actually mentoring right now? Do you have a guess of how, like, is it under 20 or?
Mhm. So I opened like the mentee spot whenever I have availability. So I have I think for like a few months I have 3 mentees. Actually, no, 4. And then 2 of them are like finishing. They finished last month, and actually this month I will open up more mentorship spots. That usually it's between 3 to 5, sometimes 6. So the most I've taken like one time where I have like 6 mentees in 1 month. And then right now it's a bit of um, busy period because I speak in like 3 conferences a month. So then I actually kind of dial back on the amount of mentees I take. But yeah, it's averaging between like 3 to 6.
I love that. That must be such a rewarding experience. Like, do you have any kind of points that you'd want to share with us of some kind of success that you've seen from that, where you were able to help out some person do this or that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say like one of the stories, or one of the like something I am very proud of being a mentor, is that I was mentoring one of my friend that I met in Singapore, and she actually was like in a totally different industry. She was an event manager. I think she studied also something different, and she saw that I was doing UX. I was traveling around, speaking conferences. So she's like, "Hey, how do I do that? How do I do what is that, like what you do and working remotely and traveling?" So I took her on as a mentee, and then she went to General Assembly. She took like the course in Singapore, and she learned like all the things that UX practitioners will learn. But still, there's still a gap between like knowledge and actually applying at a job. And then we worked together on the project, and I was like giving her feedback on her wireframes and her flow and like thinking for the user and how to do user research. I was also helping her with like the CV, her portfolio, and making sure that like she's able to explain her process to employers. And so she went from no experience to a General Assembly student. And then she got her first freelance gig where I coached her on how to talk to clients and how to like give a business proposal, how to determine your price. And right now she's working as a full-time product designer at NTUC, which is like a loyalty program in Singapore. So she went from like no UX experience to now like a full-time product designer with a freelance client on the side. I'm just like, wow, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, I love that. That must feel so good to have made such a dramatic change in someone's life and to empower them, provide them a completely new career and ways of thinking. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I really definitely enjoy seeing my mentees grow, and like um, seeing them like get their first UX job, or successfully switch from a different kind of career to UX. And or like there was also one mentee who have also never done public speaking before, and I was sharing with her how I draft proposal. I was sharing with her what I learned from the tech public speaking book, and about like through line and how to actually tell a engaging story. And then she gave her first talk at a university in Amsterdam. I'm like, wow, I'm like super proud of you. And I think just being there for mentees when they have a question, and to listen to their concern, listen to their their doubt, and be the sounding board. And then later seeing them succeeding, giving a talk, getting a full-time job, or delivering an awesome project. It's like, yeah, it is so rewarding.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, yeah, you like I said before, you help out so many people and you touch so many lives. It's awesome. Who do you look to for inspiration, or as a mentor? Where do you get your inspiration? Who's some of the biggest people?
For me, I look up to people who are independent. So then that's not, I don't limit it to just UX designers or UX practitioners. Jessica Heish has been my role model for a really long time because she's like helping other people with her side project. She's like super passionate about her work, like lettering work, and um, and yeah, she's independent. And also in the illustration space, there's Alice Lee, also a person of color, which I also like look up to so much. Also got to meet her at XOXO, which is like it's amazing to meet a role model, and she's like killing it with designing and illustrating for like Slack and well-known clients. So I kind of aspire to be like that one day. They are also independent UX designers like Sophia Prater. She's also a ladies UX Atlanta chapter leader, and she has her own podcast, and she works like I think AT&T and like also really well-known clients, running her own studio. And there's people like in the web developer space, like Rachel Andrews, and who are like author and who are like speaking everywhere, who's like just a authority in the industry. So yeah, I can name so many people, and it's just awesome that I can actually meet these people at conferences, and they are so approachable, and yeah.
Yeah, we were just we were at the an event apart conference in Orlando, and we were interviewing all the speakers, and we got to speak with Rachel, and she's amazing. Yeah, just like you said, like everybody, you would think, you know, some of these people might be like, oh, you know, I don't have time, I got to do this, I got to do that, but everybody's approachable and super nice. And I think that's one of the motifs of our industry, is that everybody is very happy to answer questions and share their knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. I think I saw that on the website as well. That you were at an event apart, and you also talked with like Yuna and talked with like Josh Clark. And yeah, I think I really look up to people who do this for a living. They are like publishing books, they are speaking at conferences, and they do this by themselves. They're not full-time employee. They're like consultants, and that's what I aspire to be.
Yeah, me too. I'd love to do that. That's great. Well, I mean, you're on your way. You're there. Hey, let's we're right at the end of the show, and we're running out of time. And I super appreciate you being on. I would like to provide you any kind of provide you an opportunity to provide some kind of final words for our audience. Any kind of words of wisdom that you'd like to bestow upon everyone.
I would say if you're interested to gain your superpower of not giving a fuck, listen to the book of The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And also, if you like what you listened to today and you're interested to find out more about mentorship, consulting, or the best way to get to know me is actually through my newsletter, which I actually started a few months ago, and I've been really enjoying sharing my experiences, reflections, recent events, upcoming events every 2 weeks ish. I send out a newsletter, and it's the best way to keep in touch.
Nice. So what's the address? Obviously, we'll put all this in the show notes, but what's the address that people could go to?
Sure. It's jennyshen.com/newsletter.
Okay, great. And for anyone else, and what's your Twitter handle? How people can follow you on Twitter?
Yep, it's just Jenny Shen.
Perfect, great. All right, well, hey, Jenny, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and being on the show and providing all those great takeaways and your story. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, it's my pleasure. And I think, yeah, enjoying the conversations, and we talked a lot about important topics. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, all these things are really important to talk about. And again, this is the last show, everyone, of this season, season 3. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll be back in late January for season 4. So thanks, everybody, for watching the show. Really appreciate it. See ya.